Alright guys, so as you can see here, this boot is totally ripped through. There's grease all over What's going on YouTube? So today I'm going to be doing CV axle on the passenger side of my Dana 30, my WJ. These are varilock axles, so they take a different axle shaft. It's slightly longer than a standard, Dana 30 shaft. My boot's ripped. The axle's making noise. This is like probably the fourth or the fifth one that I've had in here. It's just a normal occurrence, especially if you take your Jeep off-road. It's going to rip the boots. If you go rock crawling, it's probably going to break the axle. It's pretty normal. I don't have $1,000 for upgraded half shafts, so I'm stuck doing this job probably once every couple of years. It's a little bit ridiculous, but I got pretty good at it, and the axle comes out pretty quick. So let me show you guys how to do that, and yeah, so stay tuned. All right guys, so the first thing you're gonna want to do is take your wheel off. Mine uses a 19 millimeter. I have a locking nut, and then after that you take I have a wheel spacer. You take the wheel spacer off. If you don't have a wheel spacer, obviously you don't take it off. Let me get this wheel off really quick, get the spacer off, and we'll get into tearing this axle apart. I hate these things. Just so everybody knows, these things terrify me, and hopefully I'm getting rid of them very soon. So hopefully I could buy myself some new wheels, because I need these to clear my steering setup. So I have a 1-ton tie rods which hit the rim. So hopefully these will be gone soon. These are a pain in the ass. Alright guys, so next it'd be a really good opportunity to check your brakes out. Make sure you have brake pads left, make sure your rotors are nice. I just put these brakes on. I know they're good, but for you guys, definitely look at your brakes, because now would be a great time to replace your brakes. So just keep that in mind. So after you get the wheel off and everything, as you can see, that's my CV axle right there. The boot's gone, so that's pretty normal. I know a lot of the axles that are aftermarket, the boots are just made like shit, and that's what they do. But so what you're going to start off by doing here is you're going to remove these two caliper bracket bolts. There's one up here, one down there. They're 18 millimeter. I'm still hurt right now. I have a grade 2 muscle strain in my ribs and my back. So instead of using brute force like I normally would to unscrew those bolts, I'm going to use this wrench, and I'm going to whack it with the hammer to crack them loose. And once I get those off, we'll go to removing the bearing and the axle nut. But let me fight with these really quick and get that caliper out of my way. All right, so here's what we're left with after we remove the caliper and the rotor. So we're left with the bearing, which needs to come off, and there's a cotter pin in here. I'm gonna have to bend that, take that out. This axle nut is, I think it's a 32 millimeter. I could be wrong, but it's a pretty big socket. You got to get that off. Then you take the cotter pin out, take the nut off, and then you unscrew the bearing. If you never had this bearing off before, spray these down with like a WD-40 or something of that manner, because these bolts are they snap in there, and they just get rusted over time, and they're kind of a pain in the ass to get out. And then another thing too is the bearing's going to be hard to unpress from this knuckle if it's never been off. Luckily mine's been off, so it's going to come apart nice and easy. But for you guys doing this your first time, it's not going to come apart easy. It does come apart. You might have to put like a chisel in here, or something like a flathead, hammer it in there, and it should separate it. It's going to be a pain in the ass whichever way you look at it, but let me get this bearing off really quick, and I'll show you how to get the axle out and everything. Get your cotter pin out and your nut. This is a 32 millimeter nut, at least for this particular axle. Is A1 Cardone. So take that off, take your cotter pin out. Then you got 3 12.13 millimeter bolts. As you can see right here, 12 point. So you need a 12 point socket or a wrench, a closed end wrench. Make sure you put anti-seize on these before you put them back, just so you don't run into any issues when they come back out the next time, or for whatever reason you're taking it off. Just make sure you put anti-seize on them. Your bearing's going to be tight. I would highly suggest getting a slide hammer on here and taking it off that way. So you don't want to smash this. It could mess the bearing up. You don't want to do that. Mine's loose, so lucky me, I could just pull it off. So I'm going to pull that off right now, and then I'm going to take the axle out, and we'll take a quick look at the axle, see exactly what happened with it. So as you can see here, this boot is totally ripped through. It's grease. That grease is pretty nasty stuff. Makes a mess. So this axle, honestly, is probably still good, but I'm just gonna replace the whole thing. They're cheap enough. I think it was like 60 bucks for a new one. So I would just replace it. There's no point of putting a boot on it. But I mean, to put it back together, you just, reverse the way I took it apart. I'm not gonna be putting mine back together right this minute. I'm thinking about doing the front gears because I only did the backs, so I might order that stuff and get those done, considering it's winter now, and I'm sure I'm going to need 4-wheel drive. So, but it's a pretty easy job. It's not too bad. Just as long as you have the right tools, just make sure you have an impact gun. Makes taking the wheel off and the axle nut a lot easier. But yeah, it's not too bad, and it's pretty fast. I think it took me maybe 20 minutes to take this axle out, so yours probably take a little bit longer just because that wheel bearing is going to kind of give you a problem if it hasn't been off in a long time. But it's relatively easy. Shouldn't run into many issues. But yeah. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.